Reporters and other media members have donated at least $110,000 to candidates and parties in the upcoming election, with over 90% going to Democrats, including Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, AOC, and others, according to this new deep dive report. There's other reports that suggest...
I really regret not buying an Army of the Walking Dead Ash when they had it.
There's a horrible level of bias, an unjustifiable level of
That's what I don't like about this online gaming and you not owning a disc. Like, they could take stuff away from you and never give it back.
I mean, Democrats emphasize their control over big cities, so maybe let's call it like a 55-45 split, be a little bit generous for the DNC. Well, the disconnect there from 55 to 45...
This is Anonymous talking in the background, by the way.
Obviously, something is deeply wrong, and obviously a proper democracy cannot exist in an environment where one party controls the media and the flow of information, as well as social media. We saw that through the Twitter files. Non-stop negative news coverage. I mean, for Pete's sakes, you think Joe Biden would ever get elected without the media behind him? Never. Let's talk about...
Last thing I gotta do is get distracted.
Including myself, who love to point to the Hunter Biden laptop story, which was discredited incorrectly by 51 former intelligence officials. Then, of course, the media ran with that narrative for weeks. And of course, that's bad. They lied by omission. They ignored the whole Hunter Biden Burisma scandal. Well, really, Joe Biden Burisma scandal. But even worse, throughout the entire election season, they never covered Joe Biden properly. Joe Biden would do an event, they would cover it in the most favorable manner possible. CNN, MSNBC, never listened to Joe Biden.
No time to wait.
I wonder why that is. Probably because of all of these moments.
I don't know. We can't afford it by just eliminating beginning treat, work as much as what? America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. Tobacco industry gonna do. When they say quarter so the best way to get something done, if you hold it near and dear to you, you like to be able to...
Not once did CNN, NBC, CBS, ABC, according to what I understand, not once did I ever witness a Joe Biden gaffe play live on TV, or really any news anchors even discuss it. They pretended it didn't exist and told us all the time, bringing on experts. But Joe Biden is coherent and healthy. A complete joke. Donald Trump had a leather-bottom shoe and walked down a ramp once. He took his time and was being careful. This clip. And for 2 months straight, we were bombarded with Donald Trump is not fit for office, he's too old, he's in cognitive and physical decline, and the 25th Amendment must be used to remove him from office. It's a horrific double standard. It's state propaganda. It's North Korean vision of media supposed to its people. You always say, once you see it, you cannot unsee it, and in this case, you're kind of forced to see it, thanks to these two journalists getting caught on hot mic, showing us the level of contempt, the level of malice that these people hold in their hearts. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. We'll see you.
This game's such a ripoff. But it's fun. It's like how they want the future to be. You own nothing, you have nothing, and you're a slave and you're gonna be happy with it.
Some of them are decided, some of them are undecided. That's why they're here tonight. Some of them have been here more than one night over the course of this week because they look forward to questioning the candidates, and tonight it's the former president and the GOP frontrunner. And we know once again that none of the campaigns have input into who was invited, what the questions are that will be asked tonight.
Thank you for being here, Mr. President. We appreciate you making the track. And before we begin, we want to offer our condolences to you and the former First Lady Melania Trump for the loss of her mother last night.
Thank you very much. Great woman. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We do want to note that today there was some breaking campaign news. Take a listen.
It's clear to me tonight that there isn't a path.
for me to win the nomination, which is why I'm suspending my campaign tonight for President of the United States. I'm going to make sure that in no way...
Oh, screw you, Chris Christie, fat ass.
Trump ever be President of the United States again.
You hear how sick and deranged these people are?
So that was the big news. Late today, the former governor of New Jersey dropped out of the race in New Hampshire. You saw it there. There's a lot of speculation now that there could be a combining of forces of the people who supported him. He had about 12% there. And by some estimates, you're ahead by an average of 14 in the Real Clear Politics average polling in New Hampshire. So if that 12 goes to Nikki Haley, she could give you a run for your money there.
Well, you know, you have Democrats in New Hampshire, and they vote, and you have independents in New Hampshire in large numbers, and they vote. And I have polls that show me leading by a tremendous amount in New Hampshire, and a lot in Iowa, and nationwide we're leading by almost 60 points. So I'm not exactly worried about it. I understand New Hampshire very well. I've won it twice and did very well with New Hampshire. I love the people. They love me, I think. We did a good job for New Hampshire economically, and even from the standpoint of the military, taking care of the vets. And I think we're going to do very well in New Hampshire. Now, you know, Chris Christie was in, and he got a hot mic I heard about. I thought actually the bigger story wasn't the fact that he dropped out. Nobody cared too much about that. But he had a hot mic where he was talking to somebody about the weather, and he happened to say that she doesn't have what it takes. She'll be creamed in the election. And I mean, I know her very well, and I happen to believe that Chris Christie's right. That's one of the few things he's been right about, actually.
So you don't think it changes the dynamic much?
I don't know, President. Look, we're winning community here. We're
Trump 2024, y'all.
4 points up. I've got some polls if you want to see them here just in case. But I think we're 24, 25 points up. But New Hampshire's interesting. It's a great place, a great state, unbelievable people. But they allow independents and Democrats to vote in the Republican primary. You say, what's that all about? So it's a little bit false in that regard. But even with that, I think we'll win substantially.
Mr. President, we want to get to our first questioner. Robert is an optometrist from Ankeny. Robert, where are you? Do you know which way you're going to caucus on Monday?
Yes, I do.
Okay, can we ask?
I'm going to vote for the third time for President Trump.
Oh, I like him. I knew I liked Robert.
Me too. I'm voting for Trump.
For the former president.
I just want to say also thank you, President Trump, for your support of the vets. My wife and I and my oldest son are all veterans of the United States Army. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Some of my friends that supported you in 2020 are not this time because they believe in Trump.
Entertainment's the name of the game, strike team. Make deadbolts proud.
Due to your haters. What is your response to that?
Well, I think
The haters are communists.
And I'm very glad that you started off by saying you're with me, because I want you on my side. I figured maybe Fox would have written that question if it was just the second part of the question. But just so you understand...
We didn't write any of the questions, all of the questions, just to be clear.
We'll figure that one out pretty soon. But they have chaos now. They have chaos at the border. They have chaos in the military. People are going woke. We have the greatest military in the world, except for the top, where they want to, turn this beautiful thing we built. We beat ISIS, knocked them out. It was supposed to take 4 years. I did it in literally 3 months. It's supposed to take 4 or 5 years. But we have chaos now. Look at today with Hunter Biden going into Congress and just sitting down and because today you have chaos. We have, I think, more with Joe Biden. He can't put 2 sentences together, and he's representing us on nuclear weapons with Putin and Xi and all of these very smart people. The media hates when I say they're smart. But let me tell you, they're very smart and they're very cunning. And I think there's very little chaos. I think most of the chaos was caused by the Democrats constantly going after me. And remember this. Remember that Russia. I mean, if you look at Ukraine, everything was phony. The Pfizer warrants, the lying to Congress. They had chaos. They were the ones that caused the chaos. We didn't have chaos. We got the biggest tax cuts in history, the biggest regulation cuts in history. I had no wars. I'm the only president that's got 2 years. I didn't have any wars. they love that narrative, but they use that narrative because they have nothing else. Now, the new narrative they have is, you know, I'm going to be a dictator. It's going to be the new narrative. Because a guy like Biden, there's nothing he can run on. Everything he's turned out, it's turned out badly. The border is a disaster, the worst border in history. I think the worst border in the history of the world. We had the best border in the history of our country. We never had a border like that. So I think we had very little chaos. I think we had tremendous success. And frankly, until COVID came along, and then we did a great the economy. But we had the greatest economy. And you can see the numbers. The numbers were so much better. We had supplying energy from Asia. We would have started COVID came along. But we had an incredible 4 years. Again, the greatest economy in the history of our country with no inflation. Pretty good.
So I just want to follow up. Yeah, thank you for your service and for your question. Thank you for being here tonight. One of the things that Ron DeSantis said in a town hall this week was that it might feel good to Republicans to vote for you and support you in the primary, but he felt they shouldn't leave the general election potentially up to 12 jurors in a D.C. court. What do you say to him about that?
Well, it's a witch hunt by its weaponization. If you look at it, it's election interference by Biden because he can't win it fair and square, so he's doing that. And interestingly, you see what happened. $1 million. It's very interesting when you look at Ron's numbers. People say he's leading the race after Iowa because he's doing so poorly. He's also doing very poorly, as you know, in New Hampshire. I mean, really poorly. And I'm leading Biden in every single poll that's been taken over the last month or two. I just see one I'm leading in Michigan by 11. That's great. The auto workers are smart. They know that Biden has sold them down the tubes with the electric cars, all electric car mandate, the craziest thing I've ever heard. And they're going to all be made in China, too. So I think when you look at what we've done, we are doing a great job, and we did a great job, and that's why I'm leading in the polls by 60 and 70 points.
You know, in recent days, you seem to issue a warning that if in the courts, and even the U.S. Supreme Court, if they didn't treat you fairly, that maybe there would be bedlam in the country. Use that word, bedlam in the country. And in the last 2 days, at the same time, in the last two speeches, President Biden is focusing his campaign on the threat to democracy and political violence.
I'll say what Donald Trump won't. Political violence is never, ever acceptable in the United States political system.
But he's the one doing it, Biden.
All right, so to Robert's question, this is clearly a focus of the Biden campaign. So can you say tonight that political violence is never acceptable?
Well, of course that's right. And of course, I'm the one that had very little of it. Take a look at wars. Again, I didn't start. I wasn't involved in wars. We beat the hell out of ISIS. We won 100%. We brought our troops back home. Look at the violence that we've had. Look at the violence we have recently.
Right, but when you say bedlam, what do you mean?
I think bedlam. I think you look at Joe Biden's bedlam. You have a man who can't lead. You have a man who can't find his way off a stage after he makes a speech that lasts for about 2 minutes. Now, I think bedlam is Joe Biden. I think that he's using this. This is just a political ploy. Trump is a dictator. He wants to be a dictator. You know, it's interesting. I did a show, Sean Hannity. Did you ever hear of him? This very nice man. And he said essentially, you're not going to be a dictator, are you? Tell me. I think he was trying to give me a nicer question than maybe you guys were. He meant it very well. I said, I'm going to be a dictator. For one day, we're going to do two things. The border, we're going to make it so tight you can't get in unless you come in legally. And the other is energy. We're going to drill, baby, drill. After that, I'm not going to be a dictator. After that, I'm not going to be a dictator. So you weren't saying, no, and the press picks it up. So I said, I'm going to be a dictator for one day. They cut it. They go, I'm going to be a dictator. But they cut the rest of the sentence. No. I am not going to be a dictator. I'm going to manage like we did. We were so successful that the country was coming together. It was actually coming together and coming together well. It was a beautiful thing to see. and we're going to do that again.
All right, let's bring
By the way, that's why I have the poll numbers that I have, because the people, I think this audience is an example. I mean, I asked a question. I said, how many people came last night? How many people came the night before? And I got a very honest answer. Not many compared to what we had. We had a great crowd and have a great crowd.
We want to hear from tomorrow.
We do have a big crowd tonight. That's absolutely true. So let's hear from Jane Jack, who is a teacher from Rhodes, Iowa. Jane, thank you so much for being here. And you said that you plan to caucus for DeSantis, but you're not completely decided. Is that right?
No, I will be caucusing for DeSantis. But I will say, Mr. President, I am extremely grateful that in your first term you accomplished so many great things, but it was also with the help of many great people. Since that time, you have publicly criticized and personally demeaned so many of them. If you're given 4 more years, how will you convince good people to take the risk of working with you?
So I have a lot of people that want to work with me. I have people calling just as I'm getting on the stage. I had a call from 2 of the very most important people in the military who want to come to work for me. Everybody wants to come to work for us. We're going to have no trouble. We had great people. We had a couple that were not great, stiffs, as I would call them. But that's true with anybody. But now I've gotten to know Washington. I've gotten to know the people. I know the best. I know the smart ones, the dumb ones, the weak ones, the strong ones. And I think you're going to see something like you've never seen before. And the people in this room know it. We did an amazing job. And the reason we have support is because of the job we did. Now, you like Ron DeSantis, but he wouldn't even be around today. He'd be working in a pizza shop or perhaps a law firm if I didn't endorse him. I endorsed him, took him from nothing to winning an election. And I was all for him. And then one day he said he'd run against me 4 years later after I got him in. And I said, that's not a loyal person. We can't have that. That's not a loyal person. So I think you'll be very impressed with what we're going to do. We're going to have the greatest economy in the world, which we can't get now. We have horrible, horrible inflation. And, you're never going to get that 30% down. You might even it, but you're not going to get it down. So, but thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Let me just ask you a follow-up on that about who would be in your cabinet, your administration.
Yeah.
If you are the nominee,
Yeah.
which I know you expect to be, who
No.
is running for vice president?
Well, I can't tell you that really. I mean, I know who it's.
It shouldn't.
We'll do another show sometime.
Well, what about any of the people who you run against? Would you be open to mending fences with any of them?
I will. I've already started like Christy better.
Christy for vice president?
Hell, I'm playing a freaking game.
That would be enough said. Christy, I'd like to announce. Just have a question before we move on to big issues. Jack, tomorrow. And I think you said you're undecided, or you're making your decision.
That's correct.
And you have a couple people that you look
By
Okay, good. What's your question?
My question is, I would like to know what do you plan to do in your next term that you didn't quite get finished during your first term?
Well, one of the things would be energy, even though I set records on energy, but
When making a new to-do list, consider getting the house painted done with CertaPro Painters. The professionals at CertaPro Painters are ready to turn every room in your home from blah to beautiful. With a colorful new coat of paint for moving back, they'll handle every detail from prepping to painting, so you can relax. Go to CertaPro.com for free estimates of your project.
This is really not my year, man.
goes down low. We had the gasoline down to $1.87 a gallon. We had it down even lower than that at some points. Now it's at $4 and $5, and that's not acceptable. Your home heating bills are 4 and 5 times higher than they were with me. So I'd be doing that. I'd finish up the wall. We built over 500 miles of wall. That's one of the reasons we upgrade. And we got Mexico, by the way.
This might be my last
We
year.
got Mexico, very importantly, to give us 28,000 soldiers free of charge. That's more money than anybody can even imagine, free of charge. And We also remain in Mexico policy, not remain here, remain in Mexico. So we did a lot of great things, and I would just say we're going to just keep expanding. We rebuilt the military. We even did something that hopefully nobody in this room needs, but right to try, where we're able to use space-age medicines that won't be approved for 4 or 5 years that work in many cases, and have saved thousands and thousands of lives with right to try. Thank you very much.
We're going to take a quick break. We're going to go talk about the economy when we come back. That is the #1 issue in every poll on voters' minds. So join us to our questions. This one's from Shelley Flockhart. There she is. Shelley, thank you for coming out tonight.
Fucking
what do you
depressed.
think about Monday night? We're going to support. What's your question for President Trump?
Thank you.
Yes, so my question is, you're a business owner, I'm a business owner. I own a small business and time is money. Would you ever allow a shutdown in the future?
A shutdown in terms of COVID, or a shutdown in terms of budget? Because you know they're talking about a budget shutdown right now, but you're talking about a COVID shutdown.
Correct.
So I wouldn't. And I never did. I let the governors make their decisions. And some of them, like from South Carolina, you know Henry McMaster, and frankly, North Dakota,
My fucking head.
Tennessee, they didn't shut down at all. Florida did shut down. Ron DeSantis shut down because he wanted to watch the sanctimonious. He shut his state down very violently, actually, and shut the highways down, the roads down. But we had, I'm a federalist because that's the federalist way. No, I didn't actually have a shutdown, despite the fact that some people wanted to, and some people didn't want to. But we had some great governors, and the governors that did the best job were Republican governors, and they were the ones that didn't shut down. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So, but a lot of people say, that you listen too much to Dr. Fauci. You were president at the time, could have perhaps influenced keeping things more open. And of course, Ron DeSantis would definitely argue with your characterization of how.
Watch now while you can. Well, I'm still here to watch.
You will see that the biggest fan of Dr. Fauci was Ron DeSanctimonious. He was a big fan. He said, I go by, exactly quote, I go by what Dr. Fauci said. He said that 2 months in, all the way through, and then eventually changed when it wasn't, that wasn't the dessert of the day. But Ron DeSantis was a big Dr. Fauci fan, and nobody wants to cover that. I say it every time. I don't care if he was or not, but, when they hit me with this question, Dr. Fauci was not a huge factor in my administration. He became a much bigger factor in Biden's administration. He was there. He was somebody that was in government for 40
I hate that how you gotta let the weapon freaking cool down.
And whether it's like, you've been doing this for 40 years, get out. But he wasn't a big factor with me. He was a really big factor after I left with Biden.
On an economic shutdown, you said this week in an interview that if there's an economic crash, that you hope it happens now, that you don't want to be Herbert Hoover.
I don't want to be
You're not saying you're hoping for a crash. Just to be
No, I think this. I think the economy is horrible, except the stock market's going up. And I think the stock market's going up because I'm leading Biden in all of the polls. Every single poll for the last... With states that normally are not easy to lead. When you're leading in Pennsylvania, you're leading in Michigan, you're leading in Wisconsin. We're leading in virtually every state of the swing states, and overall we're leading by a lot, nationwide. But I would say this, we have a situation which I believe the stock market goes up because I'm leading. I think if I wasn't leading, the stock market would be 25% lower.
I wish I went into the immigrants last night.
I didn't win. I think the stock market would crash.
Kelly, when there's a crash, I hope it's going to be during this next 12 months because I don't want to be Herbert Hoover.
Well, I think there will be a crash if I don't win. And I say that, and I do not want to be Herbert Hoover. Do you know who Herbert Hoover was? 1929, he was the president, and that was not a good time to be. I don't want to be Herbert Hoover, and I won't be Herbert Hoover.
So with regard to, when Governor Haley was here the other night, she talked about the $8 trillion added to the debt when you were president. How do you address that?
Very, very easily. We were doing better than anybody has ever done for 2.5 years. And then COVID came along. We were getting ready to start selling oil to Asia, to
For
Europe.
real.
We were going
Listen.
to pay down our debt, where we were at that time at like $29 trillion. Now we're $36 trillion. But we were going to start paying down our debt. We were going to do things that nobody could believe. You take a look at Saudi Arabia. You take a look at some of these countries. Take a look at Russia. I mean, Biden drove up the cost of energy. That's what caused inflation. But it's also what caused Putin to become rich enough to go and prosecute a war. And he never even talks about it. He's the one that caused that war, both rhetorically and by the fact that he drove up the price of oil to $100 a barrel, which is getting close to record. And Putin was making a fortune. He's the only guy who made a fortune during a war. If he didn't have it, I was at $40 a barrel. If he was at $40 a barrel, Putin wouldn't have done it. Now, he wouldn't have done it for another reason. Me. He wouldn't have done it. But he also wouldn't have done
Package
it
has been delivered.
because he couldn't
Happy
have
hunting,
done it
strike
because
team.
oil wasn't high enough. At $100 a barrel, he made a lot of money, and he's making a lot of money because it's so high. And it's also what caused the inflation. Because energy is so big, it's such a big deal that when energy goes up, if you make donuts, if you make hamburgers, anything you do, your trucks that deliver your product, you have to heat your stoves, your ovens, anything you do, it's all energy. And we had the highest cost of energy in history. You know, when they talk about New Hampshire has the highest price of energy, the highest cost of energy of any state in the nation. They should vote for me because I'm going to cut their energy price in half.
So when Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis hit you again and again on this $8 trillion figure and call you a big government Republican, what do you say to them?
I said very simply, we were starting to pay down debt. We were going to pay down a lot of debt. When COVID came along, if I didn't inject this country with money, you would have had a depression, the likes of which you've never seen. You had to inject money. We gave businesses that were going bankrupt, temporarily bankrupt, but they needed money. We helped businesses. If I didn't do that, you would have had a depression in this country. That was a very good investment. And now what they should be doing, instead of the kind of debt that they're building at record levels, they should be paying down their debt, and they ought to go into the energy business instead of this green new scam business that they're in.
But what about the future? What about cutting spending? $34 trillion in debt. You know, let's look at what you would do in terms of getting that number down. What would you get rid of?
We have a lot of cutting, but we also have a lot of income. We have more liquid gold under our feet, energy, oil and gas, than any other country in the world, more than Saudi Arabia, more than Russia. And when I came in, we were number 4. When I left, you know, not that long a period of time, 4 years, we were number 1 by a lot. And we were soon going to double up Saudi Arabia and Russia combined. And we were going to make a lot of money. We have a lot of potential income. DeSantis wants to cut Social Security and Medicare. Nikki Haley wants to cut Social Security and Medicare. Nikki Haley wanted to raise the age from 65 to 74, 75.
But only for young people in their 20s. I mean, that's going to run out of money.
That's what they say.
So at some point, someone has to address it, right?
That's what they say when it starts. They say only for young people. It's only for young people. And then it doesn't work for young people, and they end up getting up to people that are of the age where it matters. No good.
All right, let's go to Kim, a small business owner from Ryan.
That is correct.
Do you know who you're talking for, Monday?
I am proud to say I'm a caucus captain.
For?
President Trump.
With the white and gold hat.
I have that white and gold hat.
Thank you very much. That's beautiful. Thank you very much.
What's your question for the former president?
You said that you can take care of the border in 24 hours after taking office. How will you gather the several millions that have already entered our country illegally and return them to their country of origin?
Great question. It's not sustainable for our country. We have millions and millions of people here. It is not sustainable. Did you see in New York City where they're getting the regular students out and they're putting migrants in their place? We are going to have the largest deportation effort in the history of our country. We're
about to go to Avatar: The Last Airbender.
We have no choice. We have no choice. You know, Denise is here as well. Denise, where are you? Denise came to our town hall last night. She came in saying that she was, if I remember correctly, kind of leaning towards President Trump, but she did say she wanted to be
I spoke with a lot of my really close friends after last night. They were all up at one conference, and we got back to President Trump.
You were winning. He just mentioned, I think, something that you're concerned about. What's your question?
You just answered part of it, that our kids were displaced in New York City.
That's right.
In the place of illegal migrants. So what I want to know, in the spirit of making America great again, can you do something about the sanctuary cities?
Yeah. Well, they're going to be ended because the Democrats are going to end them because you can't sustain it. If you look at New York, you have a mayor of New York who now is really hostile to the administration because New York City, that's my place. I love New York. It's gone. It's had a tough time. The previous mayor was the worst mayor in the history of our country, de Blasio. Do you ever hear of de Blasio? The worst. But what's happened is this country cannot sustain 15 or 16 million people, because I think that's the real number. I think by the time his administration ends, and hopefully quickly, it's going to be 18 million people. That's bigger than New York State. That's bigger than just about every state other than one or two. 18 million people. Remember this. Many of those people come from jails and prisons. Many of those people come from mental institutions and insane asylums. And many of those people are terrorists. You know, I saw on Fox the other day, it was horrible but beautiful, because for my sake, in 26 years, they had enough terrorists that they know. They had the travel ban. They called it the Trump travel ban. They tried to make it a big deal. The Supreme Court very intelligently approved it. Without that, we would have had blow-up. So we had no terrorist attacks at all during my 4 years. We had the Trump travel ban. And by the way, Iran was broke. Iran is broke. I said to China, if you buy oil from Iran, you're not dealing in here. They immediately drop. India, France, Italy, all of these countries were buying from Iran. Iran would give out billions of dollars to terrorists. They had no money. I watched a Democrat congressman the other day, one of the judges, and he said, I'll say one thing about Trump. When he did that number on Iran, they were broke. They were absolutely broke. When I left, they were broke. They had no money. There was no money for Hamas, for Hezbollah. There was no money for anybody. They had no money. And you would say that too. I mean, I think even the two of you, they were absolutely stoked. And you know how much money they have now? In 3 years, under Biden, they have $250 billion. Again, the energy business is a big business. And not to mention the 5 hostages that they paid $6 billion for. Not to mention they got $10 billion for supplying some electricity to Iraq, which, by the way, they own. And Iraq has $300 billion, and essentially it's a subsidiary of Iran. It should have never happened. Iraq, remember, I used to say a long time ago when I was a civilian, now I'm sort of a civilian, but I think I'll never be quite a civilian again. I'd love to be. But I used to say, don't go into Iraq. Don't do it. But if you're going to do it, keep the oil. Remember, keep the oil. Big deal. So they have nothing. And we have nothing. You know, they used to say about wars, to the victor belong the spoils. We go into some place we would never leave. We are running a world by stupid people. We ran it very small for 4 years, and we won everything.
Mr. President, you talk a lot about policy. You get questions about what a second term is going to look like. But during your rallies, you spend a lot of time talking about retribution. And so there are questions about the term of a Donald Trump presidency, the second term, would be about retribution and looking backwards and grievances, and how much would be looking forward.
Well, first of all, a lot of people would say that that's not so bad. Look what they did. Russia hoax, the FBI Twitter hoax, the one intelligence hoax, all of these different hoaxes that they did. I mean, you know, a lot of people would say that's probably quite normal. I'm not going to have time for retribution. We're going to make this country so successful again. I'm not going to have time for retribution. And remember this. Our ultimate retribution is success. When we had just prior to the China virus coming in, if you don't mind, I'd like to be accurate as opposed to COVID. It is the China virus. It came out of Wuhan. And I said a long time ago, it came out of Wuhan. They were saying it came out of caves, back caves, 2,000 miles away. The people who came out of France. Now, it came out of Wuhan, the labs. And by the way, I don't think it was done, I think it was done out of incompetence. That's what I think. I believe that the scientist went out, said hello to his girlfriend, and that was the end of that. She died, and then people started dying all over the place. But who knows? Who knows? I can tell you one thing. I got along with President Xi, but I took in $400 billion in tariffs and taxes from China. And one of the reasons China's not doing so well today is because of the and Biden wants to cut him. You know, got paid off. So he wants to help the people who get money. There's a Manchurian candidate in those days. He got money from China, he got money from Russia. Do you remember the debate where Chris Wallace, how was he doing, I wonder? But Chris Wallace, when I said to Biden, I asked him a question. I said, how come you got $3.5 million from the mayor of Las Vegas Road? And Chris Wallace did on the expecting this. Now it's turned out to be a big deal. He got $3.5 million from the mayor of Las Vegas Road. I tell you this, we're going to have a success. It's so great that hopefully, I won't have time for retribution. There won't be retribution, but success.
Mr. President, before we wrap up this, there is this report, House Democrats, documents that say that nearly $8 million in payments to your businesses from foreign governments, China included, Saudi Arabia, while you were in office. They say Article 1 of the Constitution says you can't accept money from foreign governments while president. Would you pledge to divest from the business in your second term as other presidents have done? So that's what they're reporting.
I own hotels all over. I don't get free money. Somebody rents a hotel room, etc., etc. Much money I gave back. In fact, I didn't have to do it. George Washington was a very rich man. People don't know that. In his essentially White House, which wasn't built, but they had an office, he had a business desk and he had a country desk right next to each other. You're allowed to do that. I didn't do it. I put everything in trust. And if I have a hotel and somebody comes in, that's a small but I was doing services for that. People were massive hotels, these beautiful hotels, because I have the best hotels, I have the best clubs, I have the best clubs, I have great stuff. And they stay there and they pay. I don't get $8 million for doing nothing, like Hunter. I don't get $500,000. I don't get $500,000 for doing a painting. It's not a...
Sending coordinates for a heavy hitter from the most wanted list I put together. Take him down.
Deal or no deal? The game you know and love is back. This time on the Bankers Private Island. It's a whole new game with a lot more money. Welcome to Deal or No Deal Island. This competition is the banker's test to find his ultimate opponent.
I was wrong on Deal or Deal. I know what a good deal is. I know what a bad deal is. Everybody says I'm a deal.
And here comes Boston Rob.
I want to figure out a way to control the game.
And that's it. Hidden throughout the island are cases filled with cash. You just need to find it. With the cases, face the banker. It's an opportunity to make the deal of a lifetime. No, go get those papers.
How's your mother doing?
Thank you very much, Carly. It is 6 a.m. here on the East Coast on this Thursday, January 11th, and this is Fox and Friends.
That's right. Coming up, former President Donald Trump taking on his top issues last night during the Fox News exclusive town hall in Iowa. Is Chris Christie back on his good side now that the former New Jersey governor has dropped out of the race and said this about Nikki Haley on the mic?
She's gonna get smoked. And you and I both know it. She's not up to this.
I've already started like Christy better.
Plus, another scare in the air. A flight makes an emergency landing after an open door warning lights up less than a week after the Alaska airline mid-air door panel blowout.
I'm going to take the train. Plus, Hunter Biden is back in court today for his first appearance on tax charges just one day after this stunning lawmakers by crashing his own contempt hearing on the Hill. By the way, according to reports, Fox and Friends, unless someone storms in right now, starts. And remember, mornings are better with friends.
The opening scene begins 33 years after...
Every day is a great way to experience life at the Afterlife. We couldn't wait to move in.
The opening scene begins 33 years after Ark Fall, the time when an alien race invaded the Earth. Since then, the world has been terraformed. We're then introduced to our protagonist, showing they're ambushed by an alien gang called Skewer Riders. They take Arisa hostage and demand everything they have. The duo distracts them and somehow manages to escape, but Arisa is shot in the process. As a result, Mullen has to carry her along. Upon reaching a safe distance, they hear some strange noises, prompting them to stop. Sensing imminent danger, Mullen quickly hides the sphere under a broken tree and takes a cautious measure. Moments later, they are surrounded by the spider-like mutant creatures that launch their attack. He begins shooting down these creatures until he runs out of ammunition. As they're on the brink of being killed, a group of sheriffs show up to their aid and knock the creatures off. Following this, the father and daughter are escorted to the nearby settlement called Defiance, which is built on the ruins of St. Louis, Missouri. Currently, the people there are celebrating the anniversary of the end of the Pale Wars and the founding of Defiance, which is now housing a diverse community of human and goat survivors. On this occasion, the mayor of Defiance, Amanda,
Gear up fast, we're about to get evil.
she expresses her gratitude towards two grandfathers. Her three parents, first festival, a wealthy and influential Castaman, Raha Tar, and the owner of the mines, Rafe Recall. These two folks are rivals who want to dominate each other. Kind of like how Bezos and Musk want to dominate each other. On the contrary, Datak's son, Alak, and Rafe's daughter, Christy, seem to like each other. In the next scene, Nolan and Irisa are brought to the Points medical facility where an Indogene doctor.
Right behind me, dummy.
The girl with
Prep time's over, now you can plunge in the war zone.
He asserts that they firstly need to earn money because they were.
I want that bird ready in 3 mics. Relay those coordinates. There you are. We got
Blame without zombies.
Grab your gear and shoot. You're up in 3. You are cleared hot on all threats. Watch your ass down there.
Let's get this done.
I see why nobody's playing this game really right now. It sucks.
Earn points to speed up the countdown.
However, most of his wounds were harmless. He alleges that he used illegal was not a choice. He goes to a brothel house. Sleeps with a bartender Kenny, who is another than Mayor's sister. On the other hand, the Hawley family died. They are visited by Sheriff Clancy. He the tragedy is that Luke has been murdered. Shocking. The sheriff asks if they have any evidence. He discloses that prior altercation casting suspicion around filled with rage and vengeance. Luke is in search of Alan, followed by Clancy. He confronts him at a bar, accusing him of the crime. However, the police are aware of all this.
Be advised, there's an enemy squad gunning for you.
Just then, he walks into the room with Keith, notices this, and decides to intervene. He tries to stop the fight, and the enraged Rafe orders his guard. As a result, a fight ensues, during which Clancy is accidentally shot, resulting in his death. Before the fight escalates any further, Amanda shows up to handle the situation. She promises to track down the murderer, but Rafe questions how she'll do so, as the sheriff is already dead.
This definitely ain't the same without zombies.
To take on the task in exchange for good money. The very next day, he, along with Amanda,
There's nobody even playing it.
where Luke's dead body was found. Upon thorough investigation of the area, scattered blood stains, Nolan concludes that the killer is an Indogene with a left leg. Hearing this, Amanda recalls her Indogene assistant Ben, who said that he hurt his leg last night. Without any delay, the trio had to apprehend him. He is currently planting a bomb on the stasis tank. He intends to destroy the generator, powering the shield. A short while later, they manage to capture him, but it's too late as the bomb detonates, disabling the town's main defense system. When questioned about his actions, Ben admits that an army of Volja race are approaching Defiance with the intent of destroying the town, sensing the urgency of the situation.
Enemy soldier incoming.
To construct a defense plan. As for Nolan and Irisa, they collect their reward and set off for their envisioned paradise. However, after recovering the sphere from rewards, Nolan has a change of heart and decides to return to help Defiance. This decision sparks a conflict with Irisa, who chooses to leave them behind. Nolan then returns to the town, hands over the sphere to Yule, who starts preparing a huge explosion and then joins the townspeople.
Secure the supply boxes. Locations are marked on your TAC map. We've got gas moving in.
Flees the battle out of fear, which leaves Datak eerie. As soon as the Volja approaches the town's gate, the residents open fire.
Drop it into the AO.
Gets the explosives. However, it's getting on. Just when it seems that
Contract was compromised. Stand down.
this after which trigger these, wiping out the
Jihad
Time to
cops.
vengeance. You're redeploying. You got a loadout drop inbound.
His daughter, his deputies, hesitates and persuades, looking at the defiance as a displaced. Elsewhere, we see a former mayor through their conversation, it's revealed that they're the ones that blackmailed and they wanted the
Are you tired of the increased cost of living? Are you uncomfortable
Alright,
with
this is no
everyday
fun.
items getting more and more expensive? What if I told you that there are additional benefits and additional savings available?
You're back on station. Go get after it.
That's right. There are now even more benefits.
No, I had enough of that.
Many Americans with certain dual eligibility. 800-494-7762. The tree right now to see exactly what you want. It won't cost you anything. You should pause your TV.
yet undiscovered.